All right. So you're in for a good story this week. Shalom. And it's an amazing story. You might have heard this story before. It's about a story that Rav Zalman Sorotsky. Rav Zalman Sorotsky is the one that wrote was named the Torah. His son founded the school in Cleveland, the Hebrew Day School in Cleveland, and his grandsons are like also they're like running it. It's amazing. His sefer was named the Torah, and the Torah is like amazing. He has a book, Ava Hadibur. He writes the following story, which was he himself was involved. He was the Rav in this city. I think it's called Jettel. That's the name of the city. So there was a boy from a very fine family, and for his parnasah, he bought a cab, and he would drive people to the train station from their town to the train station back and forth. Slowly over time, this boy his Fridays started getting later and later and later, and his Motzei Shabbat started getting earlier and earlier and earlier, until he was just driving on Shabbat. He continued his business on Shabbat, and everyone, the whole town was like in an uproar. They would like talk to him, they would try to tell him, and he wouldn't listen. The rabbi called him in and said, "Listen, it's not only you, everybody else is going to get soft on Shabbat." He wouldn't listen. He would promise, "Yeah, I'll stop," and nothing would happen. His father, he was a very sickly person. He was always in hospital, and he had his own trouble. He never had the ability or couldn't really try to take care of this. Just let it go. One day, so now this Sorotkin, there was a big gathering of a lot of the rabbis in Europe, in the city of Vilna in Lithuania. So they all gathered there. The Chavetz Chaim was there, Chaim Grudzinski was there. There was a lot of the Gedolim were there. And so when it was over, they were coming back. They went on the train. As he's walking the train, he says the Chavetz Chaim is in the train with him. And he was so happy, it was with the Chavetz Chaim on the way back. Chavetz Chaim was traveling farther towards Radin, interesting. So on the way back, when they got to near their city, their stop, so everybody would get off. It was like, the train wasn't as fast as now. It would go very slowly, and people would get off. And he looks through the window. He sees this sickly person, a member of his community, is coming with his crutches and everything towards the train. He went over to him. He says, "How are you? Are you better? The doctors, released you from the hospital?" He said, "No, I'm still in the hospital. I'm not going home." But he wants to get on the train to go to the city of Radin, to the Chavetz Chaim, because last night his grandmother came to his dream and told him, "How much time you want to spend in the hospital? The doctors aren't going to help you. Go to the Chavetz Chaim and get a bracha, and you're going to be fine." So that's why I'm here, to get on the train to go to the city of Radin, get a bracha from the Chavetz Chaim. He says, you don't need to say no more. You don't have to even travel, because the Chavetz Chaim is on this train right now. And the guy was like, he says, "That's it. It's a sign from God. It's amazing. That's it." So he started going towards the train where the Chavetz Chaim was, the part where the Chavetz Chaim was in, and he gets there. He sees the Chavetz Chaim there. He was in the middle of tefillah. He was saying the tefillah, and everybody was around him listening to the tefillah. Suddenly, a great idea came to Rabbi Soroskin. He went to the Chavetz Chaim's granddaughter's husband. What was his name? Let me get the name. Arav Ginsburg. And he went to him and said, "Listen, this is the story with this guy. This guy wants to get a bracha, and he had a dream last night. His grandmother came. And this guy has a son who is a big Chilul Hashem in our city. Tell the Chavetz Chaim before he gives him a bracha to do something." He says, "Great idea. I'm going to go and tell him." As they're headed back, they see that the Chavetz Chaim finished his tefillah, and this guy is standing right next to him and telling him the whole story of the dream and everything. They missed their chance. This was their chance to tell the Chavetz Chaim. So the Chavetz Chaim listened to him, and he stepped back. He says, who should give you a beracha? You want me to give you a beracha? Are you kidding? You think my beracha is going to help? You know who and where the berachot are? The berachot are in Shabbat. The Shabbat was blessed from Hashem. That's the source of all the blessing. You want a beracha from me? Everything was quiet. Everyone around him was quiet. Then the Chafetz Chaim says, you know what? Why not? If you keep Shabbat as you should, right, and you get the beracha of Shabbat, I'll also give you a beracha. But if you don't want to keep Shabbat, and you think that it's enough, if I give you a beracha, that's going to be fine, that's impossible. That won't work. I can't do that. He stopped again. He says, you might say, but I keep Shabbat. I keep Shabbat perfectly, and I should get the beracha. Look what it says in the Torah. Lo ta'aseh kol melacha ata uvincha uvitecha. Do not do any melacha, you, your son, and your daughter. He says, this you don't find anywhere else in the Torah. Did you see in the Torah that it says, don't eat meat and milk, you, your son, and your daughter? Did you see in the Torah that it says, put on tefillin, you and your son? No. By Shabbat, the Torah says it. By Shabbat, the father is responsible for his children that they should keep Shabbat. He says, but your son drives on Shabbat. Your daughter combs her hair on Shabbat. He says, you cannot get the beracha of Shabbat. And if you can't get the beracha of Shabbat, I also can't give you the beracha of Shabbat, my beracha. And the person, he's everybody around, so this is the Chafetz Chaim, this is the Ruach HaKodesh, living Ruach HaKodesh. And the person promised that I'm going to make sure that my son is not going to drive anymore on Shabbat, that my daughter is going to keep the Shabbat. Once the Chafetz Chaim heard that, he says, now I could give you the beracha. Now I could also give you the beracha, and Be'ezrat Hashem. That was the story that Sorotskin writes. He was there, standing there. All right, so with that said, let's go back to the Halachot Boneh. As we continue on, we were talking about the Halachot Boneh is very, it's very complicated, and it has a lot of different portions to it. Building, Boneh, construction. And we said one is to beautify the land, and it's so much so, it's an interesting halakha. Let's say a person, they had the meal and everything, so they took the garbage bag and they put it outside in the backyard, right? To transfer it into the trash bin. Then they're allowed to take the garbage bag and transfer it to the trash bin. But if they just left it there, who knows when they're going to take it to the trash bin. It wasn't like something urgent that they weren't thinking of getting rid of it anytime soon. Then it is asur on Shabbat to take that garbage bag to the trash bin. Why? Because you're beautifying the backyard. And that is like boneh. You're beautifying the grounds. In the home, nobody keeps the garbage bag in the home. You will remove it, right? But in the yard, not always. Sometimes they keep it there for a day or two. If it's like that, the intention when they put it there was that, then they cannot remove it on Shabbat. Then it becomes the melacha of boneh, right? The same idea. Not exactly the same idea. As you all know, it is asur to sweep the floors of a not floored ground, right? Let's say if you have tile, if you have a hardwood floor or a carpet, this and that, the person could sweep that, but an uneven ground, the dirt ground, a person wants to sweep it, can't do that, because by sweeping you are straightening up the ground, and that is a problem of construction of boneh, and one cannot do that. Yeah. You remember last week we said kids want to play a marble or other games on the ground. They could play on a what's the best word for it? Tiled ground, tiled floor, or wherever there's flooring, but they want to play outside where there's a dirt floor. There they can't do it because they might be over on the melacha of boneh, because they will straighten up the dirt ground. Okay, we did mention that it's asur to braid the hair or to open the braid, and it's also asur to curl the hair, right, and to open the curl, because these both are similar to boneh and soteh. It is also asur to put the cream on the hair, or to put a spray on the hair to to make it strong, that it should stay in the same shape it is now, because that is also similar to Boneh, right? Rivash is Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Shishat, is one of the Rishonim, and he writes there's a Mishnah in the, I believe it's in the 10th parak of Shabbat. So he says there are a few things that there is a debate between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim. Rabbi Eliezer says one who does it is chayav. That means he actually has to bring a korban chatat if he does it. That means it's from the Torah. It's a surah from the Torah. Chachamim say no, it's not a surah from the Torah. It's a rabbinic prohibition. One of them is braiding the hair. Another one it says pokeset. Pokeset. They say they make a parted line in the head. It says that is asur, right? That's asur, to make a party. He says, how is that? He says, the way he writes it. I'll read you. I'll quote. He says, the young girls, the one who it's already the hair is combed and everything. We're not scared that the hair is going to come off. That's a separate thing. What happens is they take the comb, they dip it in water and oil, it's nice water and oil, and then they pass it to make sure that the hair are all stuck together and it's laid down on the head. He says this is asur because this is similar to binyan, because the oil, combination of the oil and the comb and the water, does that. So the question becomes: can one put water in the hair to make it straight? A little bit of water is fine, right? But if it's mixed with oil and water, then it's really it becomes like a type of these sprays and stuff. So that would be problematic, right?
So you can part the hair, or that's only in that scenario?
In that scenario, that's what the Rivash says. Although some of the Rishonim say just parting the hair, making a line in the hair, that seems to be, according to them, is a problem. But I didn't see that they said that just parting it is asur. This is how the Rivash brings it down. Okay. Now, in this, I think we're good with binyan. Let's move to the next thing, which is very. It happens a lot. That's ohel, right? So the first part of binyan we explained is the building, adding to the building, banging a nail into the wall, or or taking out the door, the window, or putting it back in, adding to the building, or just building, right? Part of boneh, part of building is ohel, right? Asiyat ohel, that means to make a tent. Making a tent requires having walls, pre-existing walls or anything, and then over the walls you put a covering, right? You put a roof, you put a ceiling over the walls, right? This is a toloda of the melacha of boneh, the melacha of construction, and it is asur from the Torah. But that is only if this ohel, this roofing, this ceiling is a set ceiling. That means you literally put beams, and on the beams you put slats and everything, and you put a covering that is going to be remaining for however long. But rabbinically, it is asur to make an ohel which is aray. Ohel aray means a non-permanent, a temporary tent. That's rabbinically asur. Why? Because it's a gezerah. Chachamim made a gezerah. He might come and make an ohel keva, a permanent ohel. That would be asur. So let's say it's summertime and it's very hot, and the person is outside and he's got 4 poles, right? And he wants to spread a sheet over the 4 poles. Is that allowed? Even though there is no walls, it's still asur, because this is considered an ohel aray. It's considered a temporary ohel, right? And one cannot do that, right? But let's say they want to hold it, that's on Simchat Torah. Actually, the question comes out of Simchat Torah. In Israel, there is this custom that the kids all go up there and they all say Birkat Torah, and everybody takes a talit and holds it over their heads. People hold the talit over their head. Is that allowed? You are making an ohel aray, although it's not a permanent ohel, but it's an ohel aray. And we just explained that an ohel aray is rabbinically asur. So are they allowed to do it? So the heter, obviously they do it, so it must be mutar. The heter is because there is no poles by hand. There is no such a thing as an ohel made by hand. Everybody's holding the tarit by hand. The hand doesn't constitute an ohel or a part of them making an ohel. Therefore, that is allowed.
Strollers is the one.
We're going to get to that. We discussed it a little bit last week and other times also, but we're going to talk about strollers. We're going to definitely go to Be'ezrat Hashem. Now, the main issur of an ohel, as we mentioned, would be the ceiling. But what about the walls? If a person just wants to put up a wall, you're in shul, you have a mechitza, right, in the corner, and there are ladies that want to pray, and everybody wants to pray, so he drags the mechitza, put it in order to make a separation. Or even if it's not there, he just wants to put up a, he doesn't want people watching his house, so he takes a curtain, he wants to hang the curtain by the door. Is one allowed to do that, or are you building?
You cannot do that.
You cannot.
What?
You're saying you can or you cannot?
Yes.
You can, yeah. Because a mechitza, a wall, just to plain a wall, that's fine. You're allowed to put like a curtain, like for tzeniut or for these things. The only thing that is not allowed to do when it comes to the wall, it's called the mechitza hamateret. This is a Masechet Eruvin over there is talking about it. What is a mechitza hamateret? You have a sukkah. Either you already made the sukkah or you didn't get a chance to make a sukkah, you already put up 2 walls. Now you say, oops, 2 walls is not enough for a sukkah, you need the 3rd wall. The 3rd wall makes the sukkah kasher. If you only have 2 walls of a sukkah, it's not kasher. So what can you do? You find a door, right? A door is a nice size board, and you say, great, I'll take this door, and I'll drag it, put it right next to the L of the 2 walls that I have for the sukkah, and I have a 3rd wall. Perfect. That'll make my sukkah kasher. And we just learned to put up a mechitza, a wall, is fine on Shabbat. That's asur. Because by doing this, you are making the sukkah kasher, and one cannot do that. Okay? Even though this wall is not going to be a permanent wall, it's a mechitza arai, it's a temporary wall. It's still, because it's mechitza hamateret, it's a mechitza that makes it that makes something mutar that is going to perfect and make my sukkah. It is not allowed. Or let's say they want to carry something from one place to another, and all they need is just one part is open, right? One part, there's a wall coming, Baruch Hashem, here and here. All you need to perfect it is to put a little wall in between those, and now, Baruch Hashem, the whole place is enclosed and you could carry. You can't. On Shabbat, you cannot put that wall up because that is called a mechitza hamateret. That means you are now allowed to do something because of this. That we can't do. But otherwise, if it's not that, if it's not something that halachically is going to allow something to be done on Shabbat, the person is allowed to. You're allowed to put up a curtain, let's say. You know what? It's summer, it's hot, and you leave the door open, but you don't like it. People are passing by. It's not seniut. People are looking in. You want to put a curtain up, or by your window. You want to put up a curtain on by the window. That's fine.
How can you do that though? You have to put sticks. How can you?
So they have we're talking about that it has pins. The thing has pins. The curtain has pins. You put on, or there's a rod there, and you just put it over the rod. The curtain. That's fine. As long as this rod is not 1 tefach thick. Because if it's 1 tefach thick, then you are making a tefach of an ohel. You have a covering which is 1 tefach, 8 centimeters wide, and if this pole is that and you're putting it over, then it could be a problem. But otherwise, usually these poles are tiny. They're like curtain rods. These are like tiny, the thin things. You put the thing over it, that's fine. One could do that. Okay, now, so we said ohel keva, and ohel which is kavua, which is not temporary, which is permanent, that is asur from the Torah. Ohel arai, a temporary ohel, a tent covering which is temporary, that is asur midei Rabbanan. How about this? If you have a little bit of the covering sticking out, right? You have a tefach of a covering sticking out, and you want to add to it, or you want to extend that, right? That's called mosif al ohel aray. You're adding to a temporary ohel. Is that allowed or is that not allowed? That is allowed. That means if you have in front of the, let's say, window, you have a little bit of the awning sticking out, already open, it's already giving shade, but you feel you need more shade, you're allowed to pull that out to extend it. That is called ohel aray, which is being extended. That's allowed. Okay, one is allowed to do that to extend it. Now, either that, or once you have that, you say, you know what, I want to put a whole sheet over this area. Once you have that, you could add to it. There's no difference whether you pull out the rest of the roll or you just put another sheet over it, because it's already covered. This is adding to an ohel aray, and it is therefore allowed. The same thing with the wall. Let's say you have a part of the wall. Again, let's go back to the sukkah. You have two walls, and then you have a little bit extending out. A little bit of the wall extending out, and you want to pull it out, so now your sukkah is going to be kasher. You could do that. You're allowed to do that on Shabbat and Yom Tov. Now your sukkah is going to be kasher. Because since part of it is sticking out, you could do that.
More kosher.
No. It was not kasher until now. Until now, you only had two walls, 1, 2, and the third wall was only 1 tefach. 1 tefach is not enough.
Okay.
You need at least 7 tefachim. Right? Each tefach is 8 centimeters. You need 7 tefachim, 56 centimeters. Did I do that right? 7 times 8 is 56, right? So you need at least that. So you only have 1 tefach, right? Mm-hmm. By the way, tefach is the side of a credit card, just in case you. So you want to, but you do have 1 tefach sticking out. You extend that or you add something to it because it was already existing. That's fine. That's a good trick for sukkah. By the way, the same thing applies. Let's say you're sitting in sukkah, some wind comes or a little cat jumped on your sukkah and your sachach fell.
Oy.
And it's Shabbat or Yom Tov. Either way, Shabbat and Yom Tov doesn't make a difference when it comes to Halachot Shabbat Boneh. What do? Your sukkah is not kasher. So you look up, you see there is a tefach of schach still there. Let's say that your schach is not muktzeh. Let's say right before the Yom Tov of Sukkot began, you said, I'm not separating myself from the decorations and from the walls and from the schach of this sukkah throughout the next 8 days, which is a recommended thing to do, just in case one of your decorations fall during any of the days, even on Chol HaMoed, you cannot put it back up because it's muktzeh. Even on Chol HaMoed because it's muktzeh. So you set it aside for the duration of Sukkot. So this is definitely a recommended thing to do. Before Yom Tov of Sukkot, you get up and you make this declaration. I am not separating myself. You could have to stand there. You could do it anywhere. You could do it at home. Look at your sukkah with binoculars. No, I'm just kidding. You could just say that. Say, I do not separate myself. I am. That means I don't want them to be muktzeh throughout the duration of Sukkot, and that'll work. So now, let's say the muktzeh part of it is taken care of. Now your sachach is not muktzeh. Then on Yom Tov, Shabbat, you could take that sachach, as long as you have 1 tefach of sachach, 1 tefach of sachach on top of your sukkah, you could go ahead and put your sachach back up, and your sukkah is back to kosher. That's a great leeway for Sukkot if a person ever gets stuck. Now, when we say 1 tefach has to be there, some awnings they're like rolled, right? Some have a handle on the side and you roll it. We're not talking about the roll is 1 tefach. That's not an ohel. It's rolled up fabric or whatever it is, plastic or whatever it is. That itself cannot be counted as 1 tefach. Even though it could be 3 or 4 tefachim thick, that's not an ohel. You need that part of it should be extending as an ohel, as a covering. This is important to know. Because, let's get to the stroller, right? When we're talking about the stroller, or you know what? Before the stroller, let's move to the thing. to the baby's crib, right? Baby's asleep, and you see there's a lot of mosquitoes, there's a lot of flies. Can one take one of these screens, nets, and put it over the crib so that the baby won't be bitten?
Yes.
Nope.
Why?
You're making an ohel.
But it's to protect the baby.
You're making an ohel. The whole idea of an ohel is for protection.
But it's a baby.
You need that bottom part to protect it. Do something else. I don't know.
I thought we had make exceptions for babies.
Well, you know what the exception is? You could take the baby, hold the baby, and put a net around
Spray.
him without making an ohel. Or spray, we mentioned before, spray around, but that's also crazy. You have a little baby, you're not going to spray.
Poisons.
But this...
Lemon.
Really?
Lemon, yes. Lemon juice or
What do you mean? You pour lemon juice all around the crib?
on the baby. Somewhere.
Really? That works?
Yeah.
Oh, good to know. All
Or
right.
rub it on the skin. I don't know if you could do it on Shabbos.
Lemon juice is not cream or anything. It's not refuah. Probably you could. I think that's so interesting. Okay, good to know. Does it work for adults also or only for babies?
Yeah, why not? It's mosquitoes, mosquitoes, mosquitoes.
Yeah. So anyhow, the idea here is that you are creating an oil. As long as there is one tefach, we're dealing with one tefach a lot, by the way. As long as there is one tefach underneath, and your purpose of putting this over is for what's underneath, which is exactly the case here, for protection of what is underneath, that is an ohel. We can't do that. Unless, Shlomo HaMelech says, "Hechacham einav berosho," the wise person thinks ahead, basically, before Shabbat, you put one tefach of this net over the crib. When needed, you just extend it. That is perfectly fine. If you do that, that's perfectly fine. You could do that. But I seem to remember they say it's not so safe because Chas v'shalom, it could be dangerous. No, this net could fall, and it's a problem of strangulation for the baby if the baby is moving. If the baby is not, it's still too little to move, then it's fine. But sometimes the baby is touching, and it could be Chas v'shalom dangerous. That's what I remember reading. I don't know if you tell me otherwise.
It's even worse now.
Yeah.
With the stuff they don't allow in beds and stuff.
Yeah, of course, there has been cases like unfortunately. So now that's as far as that. Let's say it's one of those playpans like the baby's all the way in the bottom, and they want to put it in. It's safe enough, that there's a lot of safety things. Then anyhow, that would be certainly problem of ohel aray. Let's not forget, it's not ohel keva. It's not a permanent ohel, but it's a temporary ohel, which is still asur from the midrabanan, and we say, look, it's easily taken care of. There are tricks to get around it, but I don't want to mention the tricks. So let's just stick to this. It's an amazing trick, but it's okay.
So why can't we know the trick?
So we can bother them
Why
when we
don't you tell
actually
us
face
about
the
the trick?
scenario.
No. Once you start with these tricks, then it's too much. Let's get to the baby stroller. Now, the baby stroller, most of the baby strollers now, it's different than before. So the Chazon Ish says, being that this awning or this cover of the stroller is attached to the stroller, therefore it's like a door. You open and close the door, it's fine. Many others argue, and they don't really rely on this, and therefore it's definitely advisable to have that awning or that cover of the stroller open a little bit. Leave it open before Shabbat, a tefach, so that'll take care of it. That's not going to happen.
To do for Shabbat.
That's not gonna happen.
That's not going to happen for a few reasons. Because your other
Sometimes the stroller is
child,
also closed.
true, or your other child is going to go and play with this
Yeah.
thing and open and close it, and then you're stuck. That is not going to happen. Now, there is a shita that says, so we mentioned before, we said when the thing is rolled up, right, it's not going to be a covering. But what if it's not rolled up? It's bunched up, right? When it's bunched up, then you could tell, oh, there is a covering. When it's rolled up, there is a roll of fabric on top of the windowsill. That's not a cover. But when it's bunched up, or it's like like that, then it is a covering. When it's gathered underneath, if there is a tefach, that's fine. Many of these strollers, that visor or whatever it's called,
Sunshield.
that thing, what is it called? Sunshield, umbrella, call it what you will. Either way, this thing is bunched up. It never gets rolled up. So it's always bunched up, and usually there's one tefach there. According to that, then you're good. I would still, it's worth it to go the extra step if you remember and if you get a chance and if it's possible to extend it a little bit. That's fine. Some of the new strollers, they have a little bit of a shade. It's a sturdy shade sticking out anyhow. So then, if you have that type of a stroller, it's that's it. That's fine. You don't need to do anything because you already have that. That is used. The intention is, I guess, for safety also. That it's not everything is soft and everything. It's a nice cover. And all you're doing when you open it, you're just extending it. Once you have that, then it's raining and you want to put plastic over it. That's fine, because you have an ohel already. This is an extension of an ohel arai. It's perfectly fine. You want to put a sheet over it, you want to put a plastic over it, whatever it is. Once you have a little bit of that.
What if it's not that rigid one and it's crunched up together and then it's raining?
If it's crunched up together, so we said, if that crunched up is one tefach, we could rely on those opinions that say that is good enough, that is one tefach already, and then you could extend it, or if you don't want to extend it, you just want to put a plastic over it, you could do that.
You could put a plastic on it?
Yeah. If you have one tefach already, then you could.
And you can even zip it onto it?
Once
The way that mine is, at least, you can add the rain shield by zipping it to the stroller. So it's now an attachment to the stroller.
Attachment to the sun shield. That's fine. As long as you have one tefach sticking out, you could add to it. And and the zipper, all it does is just keeps it in place. It doesn't make it into an ohel keva, not at all, by any means. So therefore, that would be allowed. Right? Any questions on this? It's good. This is a lot. This is like, this happens a lot of times.
Yeah.
A person gets stuck, or in the olden times, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, I remember they had these strollers and they had an umbrella over them. Like, those, well, according to the Chazon Ish, because it's attached to the stroller, is a whole different ballgame. It's not your regular umbrella. Because it's attached to the stroller, is a part of it, and therefore one could open it and close it. An umbrella, as we all know, it is asur to open and close it, because that is creating an ohel arai, right? And soter, and you're breaking down an ohel arai, right? And therefore, because it's asur, it is muktzeh already. Number one. Number two, even if it was open from before, your umbrella was open from before, the whole thing is muktzeh, and all the poskim say it's asur to carry it on Shabbat. Unless, again, you come with some sort of a contraption that is attached to your raincoat.
Really?
I don't know.
I was thinking if they hold
back
the
in-
sisi, then I can hold the umbrella too, but
No,
that's not possible.
it won't work. It won't work. It's that's it. An umbrella is accepted. Most poskim for years, everyone says we can't use it. Now the same idea with this cover. Let's say they bring down, if you have a barrel, if you have a big barrel, and you want to you don't want things to fall into the barrel. You have wine in the barrel, let's say, or water, whatever, and you want to put a cloth over the barrel. Can one do that? If inside the barrel, let's say it's halfway, that means it's more than a tefach, you cannot take a cloth and put over it. You're making an ohel. You're creating an ohel. This cloth over the barrel is an ohel. How? You follow what happened?
So that's like
Got the
with
empty space.
anything.
Oh, very good. How about a pot? Right? In your kitchen, you don't want to put the lid on it because it's very hot and
Or
the
a
food is going
pitcher
to
overnight.
or a pitcher overnight, right? Is one allowed to put something over it? You're creating an ohel. It has the walls, and you're putting something on it. Although it's not a tent, you're not building, but it's an ohel arai.
Really? Like I can't put a plate on top of the pitcher?
Wait.
Very good. Is one allowed to? The answer is no. These things, that's the derech. It's like for that matter.
It's not the derech.
No, it's a derech to like put something on it. Look, you have a bottle, right? Can you put the cap on it? You're creating an oil. Right? See, that's it does it. This is worse because you have to screw it on, and screwing the things together, you're assembling. Oh, that's ohel right there. So obviously, this is made to be opened and to be closed. It's made to be covered. Therefore, one is allowed to do that. One is allowed to, on a pot or on a container or a water pitcher. You're allowed to put a plate over it. You want to leave it out overnight. You're allowed to put it like a napkin over it. That's fine. A barrel, it's big. It's a bigger thing, and that over there is asur. I'll tell you even better.
Barrels also have
But it's
lids,
also
though.
meant to be covered.
If they have a lid, then use the lid. The lid is normal, but this is not. That's what they say. Or, if it was already one tefach there, you could extend it. That's for sure. But if it wasn't there, you just want to put it there, that's creating an ohel, and one cannot do that. Same token, this doesn't happen a lot here, but in Israel, you know how it is, their tables, they don't have four legs a lot of times. They have what's called a chamor, a donkey. It's like a legs that you put, and then you take the table and you put it over it. Have you seen that? The
No.
table is like a slab of wood, like
Oh,
this
we know.
exactly,
We can do it.
right? So you have that due to the lack of rooms. That's what they do. They don't. I don't know. Somehow they never heard of folding tables. I don't know how that works. Now they're getting better, but still, I've seen it in many places. So what they have is they have this metal thing that they put it on the floor, and then they take the table, and they put it over this metal thing, and now you have a table. Voila. That's how they do it. So, question: can you do that? You're creating an ohel. You are putting a ceiling up, although it doesn't have any walls. The answer is for sure. That's not a problem at all, because you don't need this space underneath. You're not doing it for the purpose of, you want to eat on the table. You don't want to eat under the table. You're not creating this ohel. Now, if it has walls, though, let's say you have a bed. Again, I don't know how that works really. It looks like it was a box. Okay, it was an open-ended box. Or, top and bottom of the box is open. And then they take this wood and they put it there and they sleep on it. That, they say, according to the Chazon Ish, for sure it says it's asur, because underneath this bed you could store your shoes and your slippers. So then it could be used underneath also. So certainly we're more machmir in that case. I don't think on your normal Shabbat this is going to happen. So I just wanted to mention that. Now, if you have a barrel, those big barrels, and you want to create a table, and you take this slab of wood, your table, you want to put it on top of the barrel. Can one do that? No, because you are creating an oil, you're putting it on top of the barrel. What should you do? Hopefully the barrel is empty. Turn it upside down, where on top, you're not creating any oil. You put your table over it, and you're good to go. This is all theory, because it doesn't happen, but just in case you're stuck somewhere and you want to do that, that's an idea what to do.
So for sure you can't for the kids to play, you for sure can't put like 2 chairs and put something over it, right? Like a blanket.
Depends. So poskim bring that. The kids want to play, they take the chairs and they put the blankets over it. Oh, we made it tents, we're doing that. If they're gonna be breaking it down in like a half hour. So some poskim say let them do it. It's fine. Because it doesn't really have it's not even an ohel arai. They're playing a game. Adults shouldn't do it. For the kids, if they want to do it, they say let them do it, because it's definitely not even an ohel arai. It doesn't have proper walls and everything, and it's not made for this. They're iffy about it. Some poskim say yes, some poskim say no. It's definitely asur. But for kids, they say let them do it. This sort of a thing. Yeah. I'm trying to see. Let's say in the shul, they want to change the parochet, right? The curtain by the Sefer Torah. Can they do that? In fact, they bring down that some places, by Ne'ilah, in the afternoon of Yom Kippur, they would change the curtain to a white curtain to show that our sins are forgiven now, to give people that hope, and all that. So we see that it was done. How are they allowed to do it? So this goes back to what we mentioned before. They want to do that, that's fine. However, they should be very careful, because the parochet is a heavy, thick cloth, usually fabric. And if one person wants to put it up, a lot of times, because it's thick, it'll fold over, and that creates like an awning sort of a thing. As long as it's one tevach, we're in trouble. That creates that, so it's because it becomes similar to an ohel, similar to a ceiling. So they should be careful not to allow it to fold over. And so in halakha they bring down that they should do it, 2 or 3 people should hold it, so this way it's standing up straight, and like that they put it up. That's perfectly fine. It's not a problem at all. Also they bring down, let's say a person is like learning, is bored, he takes one book, puts it like this, he takes another book, puts it like this, and I don't know why he's doing that, but he said that's fine. The person is allowed to do that because you don't need the space underneath this book, so you could do it. Kids do it when they get bored. They do these sort of things, and that's fine. By the way, talking about sefarim, we have to keep the kavod of the sefarim. A lot of poskim say it's asur for a person when he's studying to put his elbow on the sefer as he's studying. There is a question. One of the poskim says, Turei Zahav brings down, Yeridea, he says that one is not allowed to take a book and put it in front of him and put another book on that book in order to study Torah, because it's disrespect to that book. What is that? A slab of wood that you're using as a reading stand. He says you can't do it, but others argue with him. They said as long as you want to learn Torah, that's fine. That sefer, that book doesn't mind if you do that. But again, as long as you're doing it for the study of Torah, if he just wants to just put it there like that, then shouldn't do it because of out of the respect for the book. Just mention the book. Just figure I should mention that. I think we'll leave the rest, Be'ezrat Hashem, for next time.
What's next time? We can't sleep on
Next time we're going to continue Boneh. Boneh is still a little bit.
Right, but which I want to...
which part of it?
People. What's most relevant to...
I'll tell you. I'm just going to wrap up Boneh Be'ezrat Hashem next time. We have a few more halachot for next time. We're just going to wrap it up, and then we're going to go into Tikkun Kelim. Let's say, is one allowed to... What would be good? Hold on.